The human officer stepped off the shuttle, his boots making soft thuds against the smooth metal floor of the alien outpost. The place was vast and alien, built from materials that shimmered faintly under the station's artificial lights. Towering walls curved seamlessly into the ceiling, and corridors seemed to stretch endlessly in every direction. He had been briefed before arrival: understand their culture, observe without interference, and avoid mistakes. The official tone made it sound simple, almost boring. In reality, he felt every step heavier, weighed down by the unknown. He adjusted the strap of his communication pack and took a slow breath. He was used to difficult missions, but nothing had prepared him for this. Not the strange shapes and sounds of the station. Not the low hum that vibrated through the floor, and certainly not for the alien who would greet him. The doors at the end of the hallway opened without sound. She stepped out, and the human froze, momentarily forgetting to breathe. She was tall, taller than most humans he had seen, with skin that seemed to catch the light in subtle waves, shifting from silver to soft blue. Her eyes were large and sharp, and the gaze she gave him was direct, almost overwhelming. He felt exposed under it, as if she could see every thought running through his mind. "Human," she said, her voice calm but commanding. It carried across the hall, clear and firm. "You will share my bed tonight." The words struck him like a sudden jolt of energy. He blinked, trying to process what he had just heard. His mind raced. Was this a challenge, a command, a joke? He had no frame of reference for what sharing her bed could mean in this culture. On Earth, it would have been complicated. Here, it could be dangerous, a trap, or a test. He had been trained to stay calm, to analyze, to avoid showing fear or surprise. And yet, his heart raced. He straightened his posture and met her gaze steadily. "I need to understand what you mean," he said, choosing words carefully. Every syllable mattered. "On my world, sharing a bed has specific meanings. I need clarification before I comply." The alien's eyes narrowed slightly, a subtle sign of interest. She did not seem angry. She did not smile either. Instead, she leaned slightly forward, tilting her head, as if studying him more closely than she had before. "On my world, sharing a bed is a sign of respect. It is a demonstration of trust. It is not what you think. You will stay with me tonight because it is proper, because it honors your word, and because it tests your strength." The human officer relaxed marginally, though the tension in his chest did not ease completely. He was trained for diplomacy, trained to navigate unfamiliar cultures, but he had never encountered a test quite like this. "I am willing to show respect and follow custom," he said carefully, "but I must do so with understanding and consent. That is part of human strength, choosing to act wisely, even under pressure." A flicker of surprise crossed her features. Most humans, she had learned from her reports, would submit or resist. They would panic or argue. Very few could remain composed, speaking with clarity and firmness at the same time. This one did both. Intriguing, impressive, perhaps dangerous in ways she had not considered. "You may follow me," she said finally, turning without waiting for further approval. Her stride was confident, her movements precise. He fell in step behind her, careful to maintain a respectful distance. The corridors twisted and turned, leading them to a private area of the station he had not been told about. The walls here shimmered more intensely, almost as if they were alive. Strange markings glowed faintly, symbols that he could not read but felt carried weight: authority, tradition, power. As they entered her quarters, he took in the surroundings. The room was large but minimalist. Furnishings were few, each item clearly serving a purpose. There was a low platform at one side, covered with soft, silken material that reflected light subtly. He assumed it was the bed. The alien woman gestured toward it. "You will rest here," she said, her tone gentle but not yielding. "Not in fear, not in submission. You will rest as an equal but under my observation. To refuse would insult me. To act without understanding would dishonor yourself." He nodded, careful to show respect without showing nervousness. "I understand. I will rest as requested, and I will remain alert and ready. I will observe your customs, and I ask only to maintain the dignity of both our worlds." Her eyes seemed to soften slightly. Perhaps she appreciated his words. Perhaps she had not expected such calm and reasoning from one so young. She moved to the other side of the room, and he followed, careful not to invade her personal space. She studied him with curiosity, her movements fluid, precise, and intentional. Every gesture carried meaning, every glance tested him. Night fell quickly within the station, though outside, the stars of a distant galaxy twinkled endlessly. He had seen many worlds, many alien species, but none like this. The room was quiet except for the hum of the station's systems, a rhythm that seemed almost alive. He felt tension in the air, not threatening, but charged with anticipation. He was aware of her watching, aware of the test she had set before him, aware of the importance of restraint, respect, and understanding. Hours passed. He remained upright, attentive, careful in movement. He asked questions about her culture, her people, and their traditions. She answered, her voice calm but authoritative, revealing details he had not known from the reports. He listened, absorbing everything, demonstrating intelligence and patience. His ability to adapt, to learn quickly, impressed her more than any show of physical skill could have. Eventually, she sat on the platform, legs folded in a posture that radiated both ease and command. She gestured for him to sit on the edge, at a respectful distance. He obeyed, carefully keeping his posture formal but relaxed. The air between them was charged with unspoken understanding. He was not intimidated. He was not submissive. He was present, aware, and strong in ways she did not expect. "You are different from other humans," she said finally. "You do not panic. You do not act on impulse. You think, you choose. That is rare." Her words carried weight, not flattery. It was acknowledgement of something deeper: strength, discipline, integrity. He inclined his head, maintaining eye contact. "We have to survive by thinking, by learning, by respecting those we meet. That is how humans endure, even in the harshest circumstances." A small smile appeared on her lips, barely noticeable but genuine. "Perhaps that is why I demanded you here tonight, not to test courage or strength in the way my people usually measure it, but to see if you can be human in ways no one else has shown." They talked into the early hours, exchanging stories of planets, of cultures, of trials and triumphs. The human spoke of Earth with pride and caution, acknowledging its flaws but highlighting resilience and ingenuity. The alien shared her experiences, her victories, her failures, and the complex code of honor her people lived by. The conversation flowed effortlessly, despite the differences, because both respected the other's wisdom and strength. As sleep approached, he remained on the platform's edge, careful not to cross boundaries but close enough to show willingness to follow the custom. She studied him, eyes reflecting the dim light. She had expected fear, confusion, or arrogance. Instead, she found calm, reason, and quiet strength. This human was exceptional, and for the first time she wondered if humans might be far more than she had imagined. The night passed without incident. There was no impropriety, no violation, only presence, respect, and observation. He maintained composure, demonstrating patience, self-control, and honor. Through this, he not only survived an alien custom but earned admiration, not through aggression or cunning, but through the quiet power of humanity itself. When the first light of the station's artificial morning filtered in, the human rose, ready to resume his duties. He had passed the test, not because he had impressed with strength or dominance, but because he had demonstrated choice, discipline, and integrity. The alien woman watched him, no longer with challenge but with respect. She had expected to measure him against her standards, and instead he had expanded them. In that moment he realized something profound. Humanity's greatest weapon was not physical power, not speed, not numbers. It was the ability to think, to choose, to act wisely in moments of uncertainty. And that weapon had proven itself tonight, in a quiet room on a distant outpost, beside an alien who demanded the impossible. As he left her quarters, he carried a new understanding of the galaxy, of alien customs, and of the quiet strength that defined his people. And somewhere in that understanding, he felt a spark of connection, a bridge between worlds built not by force, but by respect. The mission had begun. But this night, this test, would remain with him forever. The morning light of the alien outpost filtered softly through the tall windows, illuminating the strange metallic surfaces in gentle shades of silver and blue. The human officer walked through the corridors, his steps measured and steady. Though he had survived the night without incident, the tension that had gripped him lingered. The alien woman had watched him all night, observing his every movement, and he knew her attention had not wavered for even a moment. That kind of scrutiny could unsettle anyone, yet he remained calm, aware that his composure was both a strength and a necessity. He had learned much in the previous night, not only about alien customs, but also about patience, observation, and quiet courage. Humans often endured through thinking, by using intelligence rather than brute force. Tonight, he had proven it. But he also understood that this was just the beginning. The outpost itself was in a volatile sector of space, and danger could arrive at any moment. He entered the central command chamber, where the alien woman awaited. Her presence filled the room, her posture confident and imposing. She was reviewing reports on the holographic display, but as soon as she noticed him, her eyes flicked toward him with a mix of curiosity and assessment. "You are early," she said, her tone neutral yet carrying the weight of expectation. "Most humans would have slept late or been distracted, yet here you are, prepared, disciplined, and alert." He nodded respectfully. "I believe that preparation is as important as courage. One cannot act wisely without understanding the situation first." Her expression softened slightly, though her gaze remained sharp. "You are unusual. Most humans rely on instinct or emotion. Few can maintain clarity under pressure. Few can resist impulses that come naturally to your species. That is why I watch you with interest." He smiled faintly. "Perhaps humans are stronger than appearances suggest. We endure, we learn, and we adapt." Her eyes glinted as if she had been expecting those words. "You speak boldly, yet your words carry truth. That is rare. Perhaps that is why I demanded your presence last night, not to test you physically, but to test your mind, your spirit, your understanding of strength." He paused, sensing that this conversation was as much a continuation of the previous night's test as it was an exploration of her culture. "Strength is not always shown through force," he said carefully. "It can also be shown through restraint, through patience, and through understanding the needs and values of others. That is how humans survive." She nodded slowly, absorbing his words. "Perhaps that is why humans intrigue me. So often, species in the galaxy measure strength by dominance, by power, by aggression. Humans are different. You are capable of both courage and careful thought at the same time." Their discussion was interrupted by an urgent alert. A red light blinked across the command console, accompanied by a sharp alarm. Both of them turned to see a holographic display showing a fleet of unidentified ships approaching the outpost at high speed. "Enemy vessels," she said immediately, her tone sharp. "They are not here to negotiate. They are here to attack." The human officer moved closer to the display, studying the fleet. "We need to understand their formation and intent. Acting rashly could lead to disaster, but if we wait too long, we may lose the advantage." She regarded him with a mix of surprise and approval. "You analyze before you act. This is wisdom, not hesitation. It is human." He quickly scanned the data, noticing weaknesses in the enemy formation. "If we position our defenses here and coordinate with your patrol drones, we can intercept them before they reach the outer perimeter. Timing and coordination will be critical." Her eyes brightened with approval. "You have a keen mind, human. Most of my soldiers would have charged without strategy, relying only on weapons and strength. Yet you think in layers, anticipate consequences, and plan accordingly. This is exceptional." Together, they began issuing commands, directing the outpost's defense systems with precision. The human officer's calm reasoning and rapid analysis complemented the alien woman's authority and experience. He suggested maneuvers, calculated trajectories, and identified weak points in the enemy ships. She executed the orders with confidence, trusting his judgment. The enemy fleet arrived, and the battle began. Lasers streaked across space, and warning sirens blared through the station. The human officer remained at the command console, tracking movement, calculating odds, and directing defensive measures. Despite the chaos, he did not panic. Each decision was deliberate, each instruction precise. The alien woman watched him carefully. Most humans would have faltered, overwhelmed by the scale of the attack. Not him. He was composed, focused, and strategic. His presence changed the dynamics of the battle. His ability to remain calm and think clearly allowed her to coordinate the defense more efficiently than ever before. Hours passed, and the battle raged. The enemy ships were fast and aggressive, but the combined tactics of human ingenuity and alien strength gradually turned the tide. One by one, the attacking ships were disabled or forced to retreat. By the time the last vessel withdrew, the outpost had suffered minimal damage, a remarkable feat considering the fleet's initial advantage. When the alarm ended, the alien woman finally turned to the human officer, her expression a mixture of respect and admiration. "You have done more than survive the night, human. You have proven that your species is capable of extraordinary reasoning, even in the face of overwhelming force. Your mind is your weapon and your courage is your shield." He inclined his head. "I only acted as any human would given the situation. Survival and understanding guide our actions. We rely on intellect and observation as much as strength." She smiled faintly, a rare gesture that conveyed approval. "Then humans are more than their legends suggest. Perhaps there is much we have underestimated." The human officer took a moment to observe her. For all her power and dominance, she was willing to acknowledge another species' strengths. That, he realized, was also rare. In many species, pride and tradition could prevent recognition of outsiders. Here, respect had been earned through action, thought, and restraint, rather than force. The remainder of the day passed with the human assisting in fortifying the outpost and coordinating patrols. He learned more of her culture, more of their technology, and more of their expectations. The alien woman seemed to test him continuously, not physically, but intellectually. Every decision he made was observed, every suggestion considered. Through this, a subtle bond formed, built on mutual respect, competence, and understanding. By evening, the human officer was invited to accompany her on a patrol outside the station. The alien ships moved with speed and precision, patrolling the perimeter to ensure no further attacks. The human was briefed on the protocols, weapons systems, and navigation requirements. He listened carefully, absorbing every detail, aware that failure could be catastrophic. As they moved through the airlock and into the external patrol vehicle, the alien woman spoke without turning to him. "Humans adapt quickly. Most species would struggle with our environment, the speed, the precision required. Yet you manage, not through force but through observation, understanding, and calculated action." He nodded. "Humans survive through learning and adapting. Environments, challenges, and threats are opportunities to test ourselves and improve. That is our way." The vehicle moved silently through space, its sleek form cutting through the darkness. Stars stretched endlessly around them, distant suns and planets gleaming faintly. It was beautiful, and yet the human officer never let his guard down. Every movement, every sensor reading, every possibility was carefully considered. An unexpected movement appeared on the sensors, a small vessel, almost invisible, approaching the station at a stealth angle. The alien woman immediately adjusted course. They are attempting another attack. They learned nothing from the first. Perhaps they underestimated humans. He studied the readings. Their approach is unconventional. They are trying to bypass the main defenses. But with coordination and anticipation, we can intercept without exposing the station. She glanced at him sharply, her eyes narrowing in assessment. Do you trust your calculations? I trust observation, logic, and understanding of their patterns, he said simply. They moved together, executing the interception flawlessly. The enemy vessel was neutralized, not through brute force, but through careful positioning and calculated maneuvers. The alien woman's eyes widened slightly at the efficiency. Remarkable, she murmured. Few of my soldiers could have managed that with such precision. He shrugged lightly, a modest gesture. It is not about skill alone. Observation and understanding are equally important. That is what humans excel at: seeing patterns, predicting outcomes, adapting to circumstances. After the threat was neutralized, they returned to the station. The alien woman's expression softened in a way he had rarely seen. You are extraordinary, human. You do not act for glory or fear. You act with understanding. That is why I demanded your presence last night, why I continue to observe you now. You challenge what we thought we knew about humans and perhaps about strength itself. He inclined his head, acknowledging her words without arrogance. It is not humans alone. Strength comes from cooperation, learning, and respecting those around you. You have taught me as much as I have proven to you. For the first time, she seemed to consider him not as an outsider or a subordinate, but as an equal. That acknowledgement, though subtle, carried weight heavier than any weapon or fleet. It was respect earned through intellect, courage, and choice, a quiet victory, a demonstration of the power of humanity in a galaxy that often judged species by force alone. As night fell over the station, the human officer returned to his quarters. He reflected on the events of the day, the tests, the attacks, the challenges, and the subtle bond forming between him and the alien woman. Humanity had proven its quiet strength once again, not through domination, not through aggression, but through reasoning, patience, and courage under pressure. He lay down, feeling the weight of the day and the anticipation of what tomorrow might bring. The galaxy was unpredictable, full of danger and wonder. Yet he knew one thing with certainty: humans could face any challenge, adapt, and endure. That was their greatest weapon. And tonight, the alien woman had seen it firsthand. The human officer woke to the soft hum of the outpost, the faint light of distant stars spilling through the tall windows. It was the third day of his assignment, and the events of the previous night and the following day still echoed in his mind. The alien woman had not spoken to him directly yet this morning, but her presence was felt everywhere, through her authority, her observation, and the subtle but unmistakable aura of expectation she carried. He prepared for the day with methodical care, checking equipment, reviewing reports, and ensuring that every detail was accounted for. Humans thrived on preparation and observation. It was as much a weapon as any technology. He understood the stakes. The galaxy was full of threats, and this sector was no exception. He also understood that he had earned the alien woman's attention and respect, a rare achievement that could influence the fate of his mission and the outpost itself. As he walked toward the command chamber, the doors opened smoothly before him. She stood there, tall and imposing as ever, but with a new subtle softness in her expression. She gestured for him to come closer. "There is something you must see," she said, her voice calm yet filled with gravity. He followed her without hesitation. The chamber was empty except for the central console, where a holographic display flickered with activity. On the screen, Multiple small vessels approached the outpost from an unexpected vector, stealthy ships moving too fast to have been detected earlier. Intelligence had missed them entirely, and their numbers were growing rapidly. "They have learned from the last encounter," she said, her voice tight with concentration. "They assume we are unprepared. That is a dangerous assumption." He examined the data carefully. "They are moving in a formation designed to overwhelm the outer defenses and bypass our patrols. If they reach the station, damage could be catastrophic." He paused, analyzing the fleet's speed, direction, and potential weak points. "But they are predictable in their own way. Every species leaves a pattern. If we anticipate their moves, we can intercept them before they reach the station." She regarded him with a mixture of surprise and admiration. "You see patterns even where others see chaos. That is human." He gave a small nod. "Observation and analysis are essential. Strength is not always shown through weapons. It is also shown through understanding, anticipation, and choice." The alien woman smiled faintly, the first genuine smile he had seen since arriving. "Then we shall test your understanding further. You will lead this operation, human. My fleet will follow your guidance." He felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. Humans often succeeded in the galaxy not because of sheer power, but because of strategy, adaptability, and clear thinking under pressure. He took a deep breath and began issuing commands, coordinating both alien forces and the human liaison teams stationed at the outpost. Every calculation, every instruction, and every adjustment relied on precision, timing, and trust. The enemy fleet drew closer. Lasers streaked across the void as the first skirmishes erupted. The human officer remained calm, tracking movement and making real-time decisions. His guidance allowed the alien ships to anticipate the enemy's actions, positioning themselves to block critical approaches and minimize risk. At one point, an enemy vessel attempted a sudden maneuver to flank the outpost. Sensors detected it too late for conventional defenses. He quickly assessed the situation and instructed a small squad of rapid-response drones to intercept. The drones moved like extensions of his own mind, neutralizing the threat before it could breach the station's perimeter. The alien woman watched him closely. "Few of my commanders could react so quickly. Few species could match your speed of thought. You are extraordinary, human." He simply replied, "Understanding and anticipation are tools, not talents. Anyone who observes carefully can succeed. Humans survive because we adapt, not because we dominate." Hours passed as the battle raged. The enemy fleet was relentless, but with his guidance, the combined forces of humans and aliens turned the tide. Small vessels moved with precision, blocking larger ships and using environmental features of space strategically. The alien woman coordinated the main fleet, trusting his calculations and adapting to his strategies. Together, they created a defense stronger than any individual force could achieve. Finally, the last of the enemy ships was forced to retreat. The battle was won, not through raw strength alone, but through reasoning, cooperation, and careful execution. The station remained largely intact, and casualties were minimal, a testament to planning, foresight, and discipline. When the alarm ended, the alien woman turned to him, her expression a mixture of awe and respect. "You have done more than I expected, human. Not only have you survived, but you have ensured victory without reckless force. You have shown that true strength lies in intelligence, patience, and courage." He bowed slightly in acknowledgement. "We succeeded together. The strategy worked because of cooperation, observation, and clear thought. That is how humans, and perhaps all intelligent species, endure." She studied him for a long moment. "Your presence here changes my perspective on humans. We often measure strength by dominance or aggression, but you have shown me another way. A way that is subtle yet immensely powerful." He smiled faintly. "Perhaps strength is not always loud or visible. Sometimes it is quiet, built on understanding and action when it matters most. The rest of the day passed with debriefings and repairs. The outpost staff celebrated cautiously, aware that danger was never far. Yet in private moments, the alien woman observed the human officer with a new kind of appreciation. He was not simply a visitor or a subordinate. He was a partner, a strategist, and a representation of humanity's quiet power. That evening, she invited him to walk along the observation deck, overlooking the stars. The vast expanse of space stretched endlessly before them, distant planets glowing faintly, ships moving silently in patrol patterns. It was beautiful and intimidating all at once. "You have proven much in these past days," she said quietly. "But there is one thing I must admit. When I demanded your presence last night, it was not only a test, it was also a challenge to my own assumptions. I did not expect a human to meet it with such clarity and restraint." He looked at her calmly. "I act as humans often do. We observe, adapt, and choose wisely. Perhaps that surprises you because it differs from the behavior of many species you have encountered." She smiled faintly. "It does. You have taught me that strength is not always measured by aggression. Sometimes it is measured by thought, courage, and understanding. That is rare." He inclined his head respectfully. "Every species has strengths. Humans are capable of endurance, adaptation, and cooperation. These qualities allow us to survive where others may fail." For the first time, the alien woman did not speak of tests or commands. She walked alongside him quietly, acknowledging him as an equal. There was no challenge, no expectation, only respect and understanding. And in that quiet moment, the human officer realized the significance of his journey. He had survived an alien custom, led a successful defense, and earned the admiration of one of the galaxy's most formidable beings. Days later, as the outpost returned to routine, the alien woman made a formal announcement. She publicly acknowledged the human officer as an equal in strategy and decision-making. Her soldiers and advisors listened in astonishment as she praised his intelligence, discipline, and courage. Humans had long been underestimated in this sector of the galaxy. Now the truth was clear. One human could stand alongside the strongest of alien species and succeed. The human officer did not seek recognition, but he accepted it with humility. He understood that this acknowledgement was not just personal, it reflected the potential of his species. Humans were capable of thinking, adapting, and achieving extraordinary things even in unfamiliar and hostile environments. That was the essence of their strength. In the weeks that followed, the outpost prospered. Humans and aliens worked together more closely than ever, sharing knowledge, technology, and tactics. The alien woman continued to observe him, not as a subordinate or a test subject, but as a partner. Their bond was built on mutual respect, proven through action, intellect, and courage, not through dominance or fear. The human officer knew that the galaxy would continue to be dangerous. Threats would arise, and challenges would test him again. But he also knew that humanity had proven itself in this sector of space. Their greatest weapon was not firepower alone. It was their mind, their ability to adapt, and their courage under pressure. That lesson would endure, carried forward by both humans and the allies they had earned. In private moments, the alien woman sometimes reflected on that night when she had demanded his presence. What had begun as a test of obedience and courage had transformed into something far more meaningful. She had witnessed humanity's strength firsthand, not in combat, but in thought, patience, and moral courage. She had learned that true power often lay not in dominance, but in understanding, restraint, and the ability to act decisively when it mattered most. The human officer, for his part, reflected on the journey as well. He had entered the outpost as a visitor, unfamiliar with the customs and dangers of this alien world. He had faced challenges that tested his discipline, intellect, and courage. And through it all, he had discovered something profound. Humanity's strength was quiet, subtle, and often unrecognized. But it could change perceptions, earn respect, and even shape the course of events in the galaxy. The outpost continued to thrive, the alien woman and the human officer working side by side. Together, they had faced danger, demonstrated ingenuity, and solidified a bond of mutual respect. The galaxy remained vast and unpredictable, but one thing was certain. Humans had proven themselves capable of extraordinary achievements, even in the most alien of circumstances. And that truth would resonate far beyond the walls of the outpost, echoing across stars and planets, a testament to the quiet, enduring power of humanity. As night fell once again, the human officer gazed out at the stars. He knew more challenges lay ahead, but he also knew that humanity's greatest asset, its intellect, discipline, and courage, would endure. And somewhere nearby, the alien woman watched with quiet approval, knowing that in this human she had discovered an ally, a partner, and a new understanding of what strength truly meant.